I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jason, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for about 6 years now. We got married 2 years ago, and honestly, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. We had our ups and downs, sure, but nothing that screamed big problem. Or at least, I didn't think so. The first signs that things were off started subtly. Emily had always been a bit of a bitch about her privacy. She's the kind of girl who'd snap at you if you looked at her phone wrong, but I brushed that off because I trusted her. Still, she started acting a little distant, more irritable, snapping at me over small things. She'd cancel plans last minute or give me the cold shoulder for no apparent reason. She also started hiding her phone more, keeping it with her all the time, even in the bathroom. I didn't think much about it at first. Maybe she was just stressed or busy with work. Then she started working late more often, which I figured was normal. She's a career woman after all. But the late nights turned into weekends away. I remember one night, she told me she was at a conference out of town. She had her phone on her, and I noticed she was texting someone constantly, a guy. She always took her calls in private and told me she was catching up with her sister or a friend. I didn't think twice about it at first, but the pattern stuck out. It was around the third or fourth time I noticed her sneaking around that I started feeling uneasy. I'd find her lying about where she was, what she was doing. Little things like her saying she was working late when I knew she was with someone else, or her brushing off my questions with a sharp, "It's none of your business." I'd ask her about her odd behavior, and she'd just roll her eyes, call me paranoid, or flip the script and accuse me of not trusting her. That's when I started feeling like something was really wrong, but I didn't want to believe it. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I found her phone. I was just looking for something. I forget what, and I saw a message pop up on her screen. It was from a guy named Ryan, and the message said, "Can't wait to see you tonight, miss you already." My stomach sank, I froze. I looked closer and saw more texts, late-night messages, pictures of her in bed with her legs spread, whispering about needing more and secret weekends. My heart just stopped for a second. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I thought I was imagining things, but it was all right there on her phone. I kept quiet that night. I didn't say anything. I just sat there staring at her, trying to process what I'd just seen. It was like the whole world shifted under my feet. The woman I loved, the woman I married, was cheating on me with my best friend, James. That's right. My wife's affair was with James, my so-called best friend who I introduced to her. I never thought he'd do something like this, and honestly, I never thought Emily was capable of such a betrayal. But there it was, clear as day. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Everything was spinning in my head. I kept going over those texts. That night I saw her phone, trying to find some reason why she would do this. I mean, Emily always acted like she was the queen of the world, so to see her sneaking around, lying to my face, it was like I didn't even know her anymore. And James, my best friend, how could he do this? We'd been tight for years. I introduced him to my wife, for God's sake. I never saw this coming. I decided I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I needed to confront her, get answers. So I waited until she came home from work that day. She was all dressed up, looking like she was ready for a night out, even though she told me she was going to a client dinner. I could see that smug little smirk she put on when she saw me waiting in the living room. She knew she was caught and she was enjoying the power trip. I didn't waste time. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Emily, I know about the texts. I saw the messages last night." Her face froze for a split second. You'd think she'd try to deny it, but she didn't. Instead, she rolled her eyes and spat back. "Oh, so now you're snooping through my phone? Classic. You're crazy, Jason." I clenched my fists. "Don't play stupid with me. I saw the pictures, the messages, everything. You've been lying to me for months. The late nights, the secret meetings, the trips, all with James. How could you do this to me, to us?" Her eyes narrowed and she scoffed. "You really think I'd cheat on you? You're so insecure. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, I wouldn't have felt like I had to hide things." That was her standard line, blame me for her betrayal. She tried to pretend she was the victim, that I was the problem, but I wasn't buying it, not anymore. She spun around, went to grab her purse, and started packing her things. I couldn't believe she was acting like she was the one leaving. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and confusion. How did our perfect life get so fucked up so fast? I wanted to shout at her, scream at her, ask her what made her think she could get away with this. But instead I just stood there numb. Then she looked at me and sneered, "You're just overreacting. James and I were just friends. You're always so paranoid." Her voice was dripping with contempt, like I was the one doing something wrong just because I found out her lies. I wanted to smash something, but all I could do was watch her walk out the door, knowing she'd be with James tonight, maybe tomorrow, and she'd lie and deny everything. That's when I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep living in this hell. I felt so betrayed, so hurt that I didn't even know who I was anymore. But one thing was clear. Emily was a bitch, cold, manipulative, and a liar. And James, he was supposed to be my best friend. Instead, he turned out to be just another piece of this nightmare. After she left, I didn't know what to do. I just stood there, staring at the empty doorway, feeling this intense mix of rage and heartbreak. I kept thinking about all those little moments. Her dismissive attitude, the secret texts, those late nights, and that stupid smile she always gave James when they thought I wasn't looking. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How could she lie to me for so long? How could James betray me like that? My best friend, the guy I trusted with my life, sneaking around with my wife behind my back. I needed to clear my head, so I went for a walk. The streets were cold and quiet, just like my mind. I kept replaying everything, trying to find some reason, some excuse that would make sense. But there was none. Just betrayal. Deep, raw betrayal. I kept asking myself why, how, what the hell I'd done wrong. Was I not enough? Did I miss some signs? Or was Emily just naturally a bitchy, manipulative person who saw me as a fool? That night I decided I had to act. I couldn't let this sit. I needed answers, and I needed to confront James too. I stayed up late, drafting a plan. I knew I couldn't just call her and yell or throw a fit. No, I had to be smart about this. I needed to catch her in the act if I could, or at least make her admit it. I wanted her to pay for the pain she caused. That's when I started thinking about revenge. Not some petty revenge, no, I wanted to make her regret every lie, every sneaky meeting, every moment she betrayed me. But first I needed proof. I spent hours going through her phone, her social media accounts, her email, anything that might tell me more. I found more messages, more pictures. It was sickening. She'd even lied about plans she'd made with James, saying they were just friends, but the messages said otherwise. They talked about sneaking away for weekends, about needing more, about how much they wanted each other. The worst part was how she'd lie to my face, call me paranoid, accuse me of not trusting her, but then she'd be in bed with James, texting him, planning their next secret rendezvous. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I had to do something. I thought about confronting her again, but this time I wanted to do it differently. I wanted her to see I wasn't just some naive husband. No, I was going to make her see she'd fucked up everything. She'd pushed me so far. And I was done playing nice. I decided I'd set a trap. I'd find a way to catch her red-handed, or at least get her to admit everything under pressure. That night I bought a small voice recorder and set it up in the bedroom. I wanted her to talk, say what she really thought, what she really felt about all this. I knew she'd try to deny everything, but I was prepared. I wanted her to see I was serious. As I watched her sleep that night, I felt this cold resolve. Whatever it took, I was going to get the truth, and I was going to make her pay for what she did. It's crazy how fast everything changed. One moment I was the happy husband, trusting his wife. The next, I was a man betrayed, plotting revenge. It's like my whole world turned upside down in just a few hours. I don't think I'll ever fully recover from this, but I do know I won't let her get away with it. Not without consequences. The next morning, I woke up with a new sense of purpose. I knew I couldn't just sit around and wait for her to slip up again. I had to be active, strategic. I spent hours preparing everything. The voice recorder was hidden in our bedroom, and I set up my phone to record any conversations she might have. I also kept a close eye on her social media activity, which she thought was private, but I knew better now. I was determined to catch her in the act if she slipped up again, or to get her to slip and say something incriminating. That day, she woke up with her usual bitchy attitude. She was already snapping at me because I was being too nosy, but I didn't care. I was focused on what I needed to do. She was acting unusually confident, almost cocky, like she thought she'd gotten away with everything. I saw her glance at her phone a few times, typing something, then hiding the screen quickly. I felt a surge of anger. She was trying to hide her lies even now. She went out for her usual errands, but I knew she was probably meeting James. I followed her, keeping my distance, and sure enough, I saw her slide into a fancy downtown hotel. She was wearing red, looking as provocative as ever. My stomach clenched. I parked around the corner, watched her go inside, then snuck back to my place. I knew I had to be ready when she made her move. That evening, I waited. I sent her a text asking if she wanted to grab dinner. She responded almost immediately, saying she was going out with some friends. I knew she was lying. When she left again, I slipped my phone into her purse and turned on the recorder I'd placed earlier. I wanted her to say something I could use against her later. I also set up a couple of small hidden cameras in the living room and bedroom. My plan was to catch her red-handed if she tried to deny anything again. She returned around midnight looking exhausted but satisfied. She had that sly, smug look she always got when she thought she'd pulled one over on me. I kept quiet, watching her from the shadows. She started to get undressed, and I saw her texting James. My heart was pounding as I pressed record. She was talking about keeping their secret, about how we got away with it this time, and how she was so sick of lying, but it's worth it. Hearing her say those things made my stomach turn. When she finally went to bed, I waited a few minutes, then quietly went to check the recordings. I couldn't believe what I heard. Her voice was so candid, so full of lies, and yet there was a hint of satisfaction, like she thought she was untouchable. I also found the pictures she'd saved on her phone of her in bed with James, their secret meetings, their special weekends. I knew I'd have enough evidence. I felt sick but also strangely relieved. Now I knew the truth and I could finally decide what to do. That night I sat alone, feeling the weight of everything. Part of me wanted to tear everything apart, to confront her again, to ruin her life just as she'd ruined mine. But another part said I needed to think carefully. I'd come so far and I knew this was just the beginning. I was angry, but I also knew I had to be smart. Revenge wasn't just about hurting her. It had to be about making her understand that she lost everything she took for granted. I was done trusting her. Now I'd make sure she paid the price. The following days felt like walking on a razor's edge. I had all this evidence now: voice recordings, screenshots, her secret messages with James. I kept everything hidden, waiting for the right moment. My plan was simple but brutal. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of her lies anymore. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done, see that I knew everything, and that I wasn't going to be the naive fool she thought I was. Meanwhile, Emily kept up her act. She acted like nothing had changed, but I could see the flicker of nervousness behind her eyes. She'd avoid me more than usual, would get defensive if I looked at her too long or asked questions she didn't want to answer. I could tell she was trying to keep her cool, but I knew her game now. She was trying to cover her tracks, but I'd already caught her in the act multiple times. One evening, I finally decided to confront her directly, but I wanted to do it on my terms. I told her I needed to talk, that I had something important to say. She rolled her eyes and muttered, "What now? You're obsessed." But I didn't care. I sat her down in the living room, pulled out my phone, and played the recordings one after another. I let her listen to herself, bragging about their secret meetings, talking about how much she loved lying to my face, how James was the best thing that ever happened to her, even though she insisted they were just friends. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. "No more lies, Emily. I know everything. You've been cheating on me for months with James." Her eyes narrowed and she looked me up and down like I was some kind of fool. Her voice was haughty when she finally responded, "I don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous because I don't want your controlling ass anymore." I felt a cold fury rising. I couldn't believe she was still trying to deny it, still trying to make me feel crazy. But I had the proof. Every damn word, every picture, every late-night message. I told her, "You've been lying to my face for months. You've been sneaking around, having sex with my best friend, and acting like I'm the crazy one. Well, I'm done. I want a divorce and I want you to leave my house." She looked at me with that bitchy sneer, her eyes flashing with contempt. "Fine, if that's how you want it, I'll leave. But don't think for a second I'll be the one feeling sorry. You're just a boring, jealous loser. James is better than you in every way, and I don't need your stupid money or your pathetic little life." Her words cut deep, but I was already numb to her insults. I knew what she was trying to do, turn the tables, make me the villain. I didn't care. I just stood up, told her to pack her things and leave. Watching her walk out that door, I felt nothing but emptiness. I had lost my wife, my best friend, and my sense of trust, all in the span of a few months. But at least I had the truth now. That was something I could hold on to. I knew I'd never forget what she did, but I also knew I had to move on. The betrayal had shattered me, but I was determined to rebuild my life from the wreckage she left behind. In the days that followed, I felt like I was waking up from a nightmare I couldn't fully escape. The house felt emptier than ever, and every corner reminded me of what I'd lost: her lies, her deception, the betrayal of everything I thought we had. I started seeing a therapist, not just to get through the pain, but to understand how someone I trusted so completely could do something so cold and calculated. It's been hard, no doubt about it. I go back and forth between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief that I finally know the truth. Looking back, I realize how naive I was. I thought I knew Emily. The bitchy, manipulative side was always there, but I never thought she'd actually betray me like this. I thought James was my best friend, someone I could count on, but he turned out to be just another liar. They both played me for a fool, and I fell for it. The worst part, I kept telling myself I was wrong, that I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. But now I see I wasn't crazy. I was just blind. The pain still lingers, but so does the clarity. I've come to accept that I deserve better than someone who would cheat, lie, and step over me just to satisfy her own selfish needs. I'll never forget what happened, but I'm learning to let go of the anger. It's not easy. Every time I think about the times I trusted her, I feel like an idiot. But I also know I'm better off without her, without that toxic betrayal hanging over my head. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, I'll say this: trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Dig for the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. Because once the betrayal is out in the open, you can start healing. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your peace of mind. She may have broken my heart, but I'm determined not to let her break me forever. In the end, I've learned a harsh but valuable lesson. People can surprise you in the worst ways. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I'll rebuild, I'll move on, and one day I'll look back at this as a chapter I survived. Not because I wanted it to happen, but because I refused to let it define me. I've lost a lot, but I've gained clarity and a resolve to never let anyone hurt me like this again.